In this unit, we will explore the differences between vector and pixel graphics, as well as the differences between the two main color modes, RGB and CMYK. Vector artwork is a term that describes any art made in a vector software such as Adobe Illustrator. Vector artworks are built from vector graphics, which are images created with mathematical formulas. In contrast, raster images or pixel-based graphics are created with colorized pixels. When we are talking about vectors, we talk about math and coding, while raster images are referring to pixel-based images. The most important characteristic of vector graphics is that they never get pixelated. You can scale your illustrations as much as you like, and they will never lose quality. So let's take a look at this image. Let's have a look. For example, this picture is created with vectors, so you can see all the shapes. No matter how much I'm gonna zoom in into that, you see that I have a perfect quality in all of my shapes. Well, another image which is the same graphic but is a picture, you can see that if I zoom in, it's gonna start getting pixelated. I'm not gonna have the great quality that I had before. So this is a raster image, while the previous was a vector image. Adobe Illustrator is one of my favorite softwares because it allows you to have nice and sharp graphics no matter the scale. So you can zoom in as much as you like and still have nice and sharp outcome. We have two different color modes, the RGB and the CMYK. Both are modes for mixing color and design. The RGB color is the color mode that stands for red, green, and blue, and it's the best for digital work. The CMYK is the color mode that is standing for cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, and it's mostly used for print. You can see how the colors on each of the spectrums are mixing in different ways to create the rest of the colors, such as cyan and magenta is creating this purple blue, magenta and yellow this red, cyan and yellow this green, and all together create the black and CMYK. CMYK, it's more like how it's in the physical world when you're drawing with your brushes and your inks and you're mixing them together, so it has exactly the same principle. RGB, you see, things are a bit different. So if you mix red with green, then you get yellow, or green with blue, cyan, blue with red, magenta, and if you mix all of them together, you get white, which in the physical world feels really weird. It's not something that you would get if you would mix your inks with your brushes, right? It is important to select the right color mode before starting any project. You need to use the RGB colors if your design is supposed to be displayed on any kind of screen. Well, use the CMYK colors for any project that will be physically printed, not just viewed on the screen. It's important to pick the right color mode because CMYK colors are way less than RGB. If we check the spectrum of the colors, you will notice that quite a lot of colors that exist on RGB colors, they don't exist in the CMYK spectrum. Such as this nice bright cyan here, you don't see that anywhere on the spectrum. Or even this bright blue or bright green, they don't exist either. So if you're designing something in CMYK and it's supposed to get printed, but then you realize that also going to be used in a banner or something digital, it's perfectly fine to convert your file to RGB and export all the files that you need, since all of the colors that exist on the CMYK spectrum exist also on the RGB one. If you go the other way around, you create something for digital and then you decide to print it, then you will have a bit of an issue because your illustration or your graphic is going to look a bit dull and desaturated. The reason is because, for example, this blue doesn't exist on the CMYK, so it's going to be replaced with this a bit more dull blue color, and the green with this dull kind of green, and so on. So your illustration is suddenly going to have different colors than it's supposed to. So in order to fix that kind of issue, I would suggest to convert it to CMYK and then manually fix again one by one your colors. In general, in order to perfectly avoid situations like that, I would suggest to start with CMYK colors and later on switch to RGB for the digital application, enhance the colors there if you want to use the full RGB spectrum. If your design is supposed to be for both print and digital applications, I would suggest again the same. Start with CMYK and then switch to RGB color mode to create the digital applications and adjust the colors if you feel like it. The RGB color mode includes way more colors than the CMYK one. As a result, all colors included on CMYK mode exist also on the RGB one, but some colors on the RGB do not exist on the CMYK mode. Here are a quick example of how the same artwork will look in CMYK and RGB colors. So you can see in CMYK that the colors are a bit dull because we don't really have all these lovely bright tones of colors that we have on the RGB spectrum. So it's important that every time you open a new document, you select the right color mode for your project. In the next unit, I'm going to introduce you to the Adobe Illustrator workspace.